Alright, so for this next assignment, our final assignment, or final big assignment anyway, we're going to be taking a cartoon character and recreating them using actual images. So this is an end example of The Little Mermaid redone using actual photos. And if I switch to my folder here, here are several images that I've grabbed that I used to create that image. You can see this image right here is obviously the main one I've used for this girl. But in this image, she has this, whatever that thing is called, on her stomach. So I had to replace it. That's why I have these pictures at the front, right there. And this one is actually the one I used, and it actually matches basically the profile that I have, or the angle that I have here, with a little bit of adjustment. And obviously the girl didn't have a fish tail, so I had to add this. I had to add the tail here. I did some hair corrections on her. So this image is actually a construction of several images put together. And if I look through, here's my layers for this. If I look through, I can see all the work that's been done to this specific image. Okay, so there's lots of stuff that's gone on here to make this look the way it looks. Here's the head and the arms. Here is some hair that I've added back there. You can kind of see that happening here. And some of these are just subtle shading differences that I'm just turning on and off. Okay, some are color adjustments for her skin to make it look a little bit softer. That's her seashell bra that she has on. Okay, so the hardest part about this is picking a character and then getting good reference for this, because it really is going to depend on the kind of images that you get as to what you can create. Now in your handout, you are able to choose from a list of characters. So you're able to choose Ariel, which is the Little Mermaid, King Triton, Beast, Beauty and the Beast, Jack Skellington, Sally, Medusa, Centaur, Minotaur, Witch, or other with approval. Now remember, your goal with this assignment is to create something using Photoshop. Okay, it's not simply just a let's go into Photoshop and find an image of the Hulk and cut him out and drop him in here. That's not what we're doing. What we want to do is construct it. Even my background, if I turn my other stuff off, I turn all this stuff off here. There we go. Even this background has been constructed of several images. You see here's rocks here, here's some rocks there, and then here is another image. So my background is constructed of even 3 images. Okay, so you're going to either pick one of these guys, or you can email me or post it on the message board and then let me know if you have another idea, and I may want more information, but I want to make sure that we have one of the examples here, or we have a cartoon character that works, okay, or a character that works. A lot of these are good because there's lots of different ways that we can add stuff into one of these characters. In the past, people have done other things that just don't turn out very good. Like for instance, if I chose the Hulk, there's some work that you could do to the Hulk, but you really have to do a lot to get some of the detail that would be inside of the Hulk. You can see there's lots of veins here, there's lots of stuff, but realistically it's just a guy with lots of muscles who's really green and has purple shorts. So something like Ariel, she has a lot of different areas. Her hair can be added from one image, her seashell bra from another one, her tail from another one, the background from another one, even like her torso, her arms, whatever. The more stuff that we do to this, that's what we're trying to get. All right, this is a Photoshop assignment, and we're using this creation project as a way to show off our Photoshop skills. So the first thing we need to do is pick a character from the list, or if you get one approved by me, then you can use that one. All right, and then we have 20 source images that you're going to be getting. So you're going to use some resources online to grab those 20 source images. One of them is CG Textures. And on this website, I can look up fish, and they have some obviously that are not appropriate, and then some that would be appropriate depending on what you're trying to do. Okay, and these are all ones that are used for source images, so you can pull up stuff like that. If I look up mermaid, obviously nothing's going to come up because they don't have pictures of mermaids. Okay, I could look up underwater, and here's some underwater stuff. Maybe I could use rocks or gravel or whatever. It's going to be hard to find stuff that is in the correct perspective. Obviously, these rocks are not in any kind of perspective that we would put on the ground unless we distorted them to look like that. Okay, so there's other websites too that we can use. All right, you're going to use a website called DeviantArt. That's another place that you can use to gather images. Now, you can't just go and grab any of the images. This is a website where people post their actual work that they want to sell on here. Okay, but they do have an area over here. If we come and look, there's one that's called Resources and Stock Images. And inside here, there's another one called Stock Images. And then inside this is basically a bunch of different images. Now, some of these you can use for free, and some of these you have to pay for, and some of these are whatever. Okay, but it's a good way to get what you need. So I can look inside here for stuff like fairy. And here's just a bunch of pictures that people have taken for, some of these are for use online, some of these are not for use. So if I click on one of these, it'll tell me down here, Creative Commons License Attribute 3. Okay, some rights are reserved. So in this case, this one is free to share, copy, distribute, transmit, or remix, adapt the work to make commercial use of the work. Okay. You must attribute the work in a manner specified by the author or licensor, but not in any way suggest that you endorse or they endorse you or use your work. Okay, so ideally we don't have to worry too much about that right now. If this was used commercially, we'd have to worry about other stuff. Okay, so you can download this image, and you can see there's a whole bunch of other images in here. And for whatever reason, people actually just take photos of themselves and post it online, and we use them. And you can see this is the important part here, is this 2352 by 3010 pixel resolution. That's a plenty big size. We need, if we look at the info, our minimum size is 1200 pixels for some of our stuff. Okay, the final image is 2400 pixels. So if I take a small rock that might be 1200 pixels and I blow it up to 6000 pixels because I want something like that, it's not going to work. So I have to make sure that I find something that's appropriate for what I'm doing. So here, her being basically 3000 pixels high and 2000 pixels wide, this should be plenty big to put on my image. Okay, so that should be good. And then here, that should be good too if I was going to use that, or this, or whatever. Okay, so you just have to be aware of the stuff that's out there. So I can just go back, and I can X the fairy out, and then just type in something else like underwater. Okay, and then I'll get a bunch of different underwater type things. Here's another one. And I'll come over here and check and see if there's any restrictions or whatever over here. Nope, you can just download the image. Oh, here it is. Stock rules. Right in front. Please credit Tiger Stocks and link back here. Please comment. You may sell prints of your artwork, putting a filter in stock, just changing color. Bit does not constitute a new artwork. Be creative, folks. Okay. So you could use this also. You can just download it. So you're going to get at least 20 images. That's going to be your first step or your second step. Your first step is picking the character. The second step is to make a folder and get 20 images, at least 1200 pixels. Some of them are going to have to be bigger. Okay, if you want to use a big image for the background and then add stuff on top of it, that image is going to have to be pretty big, like 2400 pixels or so. If I see an image like this, and I really like these rocks down here, I have to make sure that those are going to look appropriately blown up. Or if I like these, I have to make sure that they're going to look appropriate blown up. Now, there's no guarantee that every single one of these images is going to be good. You just have to kind of look at it and judge whether or not it's going to be a good image. Just like when we did our movie poster prepping, if I looked up images of Toy Story, and we just went through and looked at a couple of these. This one is 200 pixels, so obviously right away this is not a good image. But even the ones that are above what we need, sometimes those will be a bad quality image. Okay, like this one is 1200 pixels. It's probably hasn't finished loading yet, but you can see the graininess of it. Some images will be pretty big, but will still look grainy. So you just have to be aware of what images are out there and looking at that grain structure, okay? You'd also have to look at light, because if the lighting isn't perfect on it, there's not much you can do. If someone's, in this case, I really like this girl, but her bottom half is cut off. If I wanted to use that, I would have to add a bottom for whatever reason. Or if I wanted to use one of her hands cut off, I would have to find another hand to add in there, okay? So you just have to be aware of the limitations and things that you're going to have to work around, things you're going to have to Photoshop. And ideally, like I said before, this assignment is all about Photoshop. So you want to add those kinds of things in there. Okay. So 20 source images, and try to, in this case, I got several pieces for the hair, several pieces for the torso, several poses for the background, several things I could use for the tail and the fins and whatever else. So you want to add a lot more things in here. And I even grabbed in this, let me turn all these back on. In this one, I even grabbed, here's Sebastian, here's Flounder, and here's her fork that she had in the movie. Okay, so you want to grab a lot of things. Okay, 20 is a bare minimum that you can get by on this assignment. You may need 40, you may need 50. Okay, you're better off getting a lot more right off the bat than having to go out later and search for them. All right, so number 1, find your character. Number 2, 20 source images. Number 3, you're going to do a summary, and this is going to be 200 words describing the character you chose, and then a backstory about the character, why you chose them, and how you plan to showcase their story. In this case, I showed Ariel underwater, but obviously I could have shown her, there's a couple famous scenes of The Little Mermaid, like on rocks. You can see her reaching for the water. You can show her as a human. But obviously there's not a whole lot of Photoshop work that would be done in a case like this. So I really wanted to go for something that was underwater. Okay, even something like this, you can see that she has her fin, but it's hard to see the fin. So why bother with that? Let's do something where I can really push the Photoshop here. So I can push it by having this fin inside here and having her underwater a little bit and floating a little bit. Okay, here's another example. Ooh, come on. Another example of someone that someone else has done using Queen Latifah as Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Okay, so here's an octopus thing, and here is the torso and her hair and whatever else. Okay, so once you have your 20 images, so in this case I would have my 20 images minus the PSDs that are in here. I would have my text document, and here is my Sarcona Little Mermaid summary, and I would just type in why I chose Little Mermaid and a backstory of her and how I plan to showcase her. I would then take this folder and I would say send to zipped folder, or on the Mac you would just do the Mac equivalent. And then this file here I would upload to, where is it? Mermaid. Right there. Make sure it has my name in it. I would upload my folder to my Dropbox folder and then share that link. And then that will be your first part of planning this assignment.